Hello and welcome to day 8 of the Great Western Adventure. The log today high on top of Green Mountain, which is in the middle of nowhere. I have to say, we weren't really fast out of the gate out of this BLM campground. I'm guessing we were on the road by about 8 o'clock or so. Headed back down to the highway in the Sweetwater River, which we were following westward along with the Oregon Trail. And the morning was spent chasing down rock hunting sites. And I think we did okay, actually. We got some decent samples. I won't say great, but they were nice. I was really looking to hopefully to get some really nice pieces of jade. Didn't find that, but we did get some quartzite and some lower grade jade. So it wasn't bad. Oh, and we ran into a fellow rock hunter out there. Except he wasn't looking for rock. Well, he was kind of looking for rocks, but actually he was also looking for 50 caliber machine gun casings. Apparently, one of the areas we were rock hunting in was a former bombing and target range for the Air Force in like World War II. And he showed me several casings he had already picked up. Lunch was an early affair. We stopped in Jeffrey City because Jeffrey City is about the only place for very long distance in either direction. Plus, I really try to patronize local businesses because these are places that keep communities alive. And wow, in rural America, a lot of them are just kind of disappearing and have been disappearing for several decades now. It's kind of sad. It was a great self and with antlers and the other Western stuff like horseshoes and traps kind of scattered around. Oh, and yeah, I also had a rock collection too. And I was like, oh man, it's just like, if you had spent 10 years rock, you could have this too. The clientele, well, we were the only tourists in the place, were several locals drinking hard at the bar and a group of hunters who had come in for lunch after most likely an early morning hunt. From there, we continued to do some rock hunting with mixed success. I do know at one location we got, well, half a mile down a road which was so potholed and rutted out. It was causing the suspension to really have to work really hard, and I had to drive very carefully. And I just said, "This isn't worth it." And we end up with some very, very small samples, but we got something. We were going from this point to pick up the Oregon Trail, the actual trail, which is now a unimproved dirt road. But when I got to the highway, based on talking to several people who were parked there who were hunting and in bigger 4x4s and better equipped than we were, they suggested that I skip this 2 mile section and kind of go down back to the US highway and around and pick up the Oregon Trail there. And that's what we did. And we followed that for like 20, 30 miles at like 15 miles an hour. It was rough. I mean, it was definitely doable. I mean, it wasn't, I didn't feel like I was ever over my head as far as the Subaru's ability to cope and deal with it. But a lot of sharp turns, certain sections you just had to slow down to kind of dip in and out of the ruts and the washboard and the small dried up stream beds, which would kind of drop your front axle in and then drop your back axle, and then you have to climb out again. And the bank, it'd be about 6-inch drop on either side. So yeah, you literally had to stop and creep over it. So what could have been like half hour, 45 minutes by the road took us about 2 to 3 hours. But I had fun. My partner was a lot less enthused by it. She's not a big fan of, dirt roads, but she was a good trooper, at least for this point in time. And we rolled into South Pass about maybe, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we just kind of took a quick look around and climbed out of South Pass. Not only is it the one of the few places that actually has a actual presence, as in there, South Pass is I believe it's a state park with BLM lands around. It has a campground or two, and a small store, and one cafe and a post office. There are remains of some really huge coal mines in the area. And we took a few pictures of that too. We climbed out of South Pass City to the actual divide and stopped right there. I kind of did this with 2 cups of water, with one on this side of the Continental Divide and the other one on this, so just for posterity. I had planned to do a lot more rock hunting in this section, but we were still kind of running a little bit behind time as far as where we wanted to be to where we actually were. So we skipped this, and it's just gonna have to be another trip. Rolled into Farson about 4:30, 5 o'clock. I was really hoping to get a nice barbecue dinner, but they were sold out. Went to the bar, which was supposed to have dinner served. They only served drinks and little frozen pizzas. That wasn't going to work. The third choice was supposedly a cafe, and wow, tourist trap. I mean, a bologna sandwich was $15. Ice cream cones were $7 for one scoop. So we went to the Sinclair station to gas up, and we were pleasantly surprised that the fact that it had a large convenience store and a large selection of sandwiches and a microwave. So we could heat up everything that we bought at the store, and we had a hot dinner on the road. And also kind of neat here was that they had a recycling center here. So we got rid of all our bottles and cans and such. So that was a plus. From Farson, we continued south through Skeet Scattle, and I'm probably saying that wrong, Natural Refuge, and down through an oil refinery road and kind of stuck through the road that was, well, we're not quite sure was open to the public or not, but we took it. The gates were open. It was marked as a public road, so we took it. And from there, by the time we got out, uh, dusk had come and gone, and it was the bare little bit of twilight left. We headed down the last 10 miles to the interstate, jumped on the interstate, went about 23 miles to the Fort Bridger area, to Lyman, that's spelled Lyman, where the KOA is located. I believe we stopped in also into a Taco Bell, got some tacos before we headed to the KOA. And oh, I was so glad that we had, like, really earlier in the day, that we had called for reservations, because this is the last day of the Labor Day weekend. But thank goodness, well, because of the lockdown, they didn't have the major events that Fort Bridger usually has. So they were welcome for us to stay there. And that was a real blessing, because Southwest Wyoming really has very, very few campgrounds here, especially ones suited to tenting. But even for RVs, there aren't that many. And I'm tired. And we were tired too at the end of this day. But I have to say, it was a good day.